There was no headline, no announcement, no warning. Yet this single moment stopped millions of people mid-scroll. Welcome back to JIKOOK Lover. Before we go any further, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, because what you're about to watch isn't just news, it's an emotional moment the internet wasn't ready to see. Why did one quiet expression from Jimin spark global speculation? Why did Jungkook's presence raise more questions than answers? And why does this moment still refuse to fade away? Stay with us, because this was never just about tears. Not just tears, the emotional story of Jimin and Jungkook that took the world by surprise. Some stories do not announce themselves loudly. They don't arrive with dramatic music or carefully written statements. Instead, they slip into public view quietly, almost accidentally, only to leave an impact far louder than anything planned. This story began that way. At first glance, there was nothing extraordinary. A short clip surfaced online, one of countless fragments shared daily by fans across the globe. The framing was imperfect, the moment brief. Nothing about it suggested that it would soon dominate timelines, spark long discussions, or divide opinions with such intensity. And yet, something about it felt heavy. People didn't immediately react with excitement or shock. Instead, they paused. They rewatched. Many admitted they couldn't explain why they felt unsettled, only that the moment lingered longer than expected. It wasn't dramatic enough to be obvious, but it was far too emotional to ignore. In the clip, Jimin appears calm on the surface. There are no exaggerated gestures, no visible breakdown. But those familiar with him noticed it instantly. The stillness, the hesitation, the way his expression seemed to hold something back. Not performing, not presenting, just existing in a moment that felt unfiltered. Then there was Jungkook. He didn't speak. He didn't step forward. He didn't attempt to control the moment. But his presence changed everything. The way he stood, the distance he kept, the direction of his gaze, details so small they would normally pass unnoticed, suddenly became the center of global interpretation. And with that, the questions began. Not loudly, not aggressively, but carefully. Fans didn't rush to conclusions. Instead, they used words like, maybe, it feels like, and I could be wrong, but this wasn't the usual rush of speculation fueled by drama. It was something closer to concern, empathy, curiosity mixed with restraint. Why did this moment feel different from countless others before it? Why did silence feel louder than words? And why did so many people feel emotionally affected without knowing exactly why? As the clip spread, the conversation expanded beyond fandom spaces. International audiences, many with no deep background knowledge, found themselves drawn in. They weren't responding to a narrative. They were responding to a feeling, a sense that something deeply human had surfaced in a world that rarely allows vulnerability to remain visible. What made the situation even more complex was the absence of explanation. There was no official clarification, no follow-up, no attempt to guide interpretation. The moment existed on its own, raw and unresolved. For some fans, that absence felt respectful, a reminder that not every emotion needs to be explained or consumed. For others, it felt unsettling. In a culture conditioned to closure, this open-ended silence created discomfort and fascination. Opinions soon diverged. Some believed the tears represented exhaustion, the weight of years spent under relentless scrutiny finally slipping through the cracks. Others argued it was simply a fleeting emotional response, amplified unnecessarily by social media. A few suggested that the real reason mattered less than the fact that people cared enough to ask. What almost everyone agreed on, however, was this: the moment felt real. Not staged, not exaggerated, not controlled. And perhaps that authenticity is exactly why it struck such a nerve. As discussions grew longer and interpretations more detailed, the focus slowly shifted. It was no longer just about what happened, but about why the world reacted the way it did. Why this moment, out of so many, became a mirror for personal emotions, unspoken fears, and shared exhaustion. Because sometimes, a story goes viral not because of what it shows, but because of what it awakens. And now, the question that continues to divide fans and observers alike remains unanswered. As the conversation continued to spread, something unexpected happened. The story stopped being about celebrity observation and slowly transformed into a shared emotional experience. People weren't just discussing Jimin and Jungkook anymore, they were talking about themselves, about burnout, about pressure, about moments when emotions surface without permission. Social media timelines, filled with long reflections rather than short reactions. Fans wrote paragraphs instead of slogans. Some admitted they had replayed the clip late at night, unsure why it made their chest feel heavy. Others confessed that they avoided watching it again because it felt too intimate, as if witnessing something not meant for public consumption. And still, no explanation arrived. In an industry where narratives are often tightly controlled, the silence surrounding this moment felt intentional, or at least meaningful. It allowed space for interpretation, but also forced audiences to confront an uncomfortable truth. Not everything that goes viral is meant to be understood. Body language experts weighed in carefully, choosing their words with caution. They avoided definitive statements, instead pointing out micro-expressions, pauses, and shifts in posture that suggested emotional restraint rather than release. But even these analyses ended with uncertainty. Too many variables, too little context, too much humanity. Meanwhile, longtime fans began drawing connections, not conclusions, but patterns. They spoke about the long road shared by Jimin and Jungkook, the years of growing up under constant observation, the unspoken understanding that forms between people who have endured the same pressure side by side. Not as a dramatic narrative, but as a quiet bond shaped over time. Others pushed back. They argued that fans were projecting too much, that the internet has a habit of turning ordinary moments into symbolic events. That not every tear carries hidden meaning, and not every silence is a message. To them, this was a reminder of how easily empathy can blur into assumption. And yet, even among skeptics, one thing was difficult to deny. The emotional response felt disproportionate to the simplicity of the moment. Something about it bypassed logic and went straight to feeling. Perhaps because vulnerability is rare in spaces designed for perfection. Perhaps because the world itself feels heavy, and seeing someone else struggle, even briefly, creates an instant connection. Or perhaps because Jimin and Jungkook represent more than themselves to millions of people, whether they intend to or not. As days passed, the clip refused to fade. New angles appeared, old discussions resurfaced, theories evolved, softened, contradicted themselves. But instead of exhausting the topic, the lack of resolution kept it alive. And slowly, the narrative began to shift again. The question was no longer, what happened in that moment? It became, why are we still talking about it? Why does the single fragment continue to echo louder than announcements, achievements, or carefully crafted performances? Why does it feel unfinished? Maybe because some stories aren't meant to be closed. Maybe because they exist to remind us that behind global fame and flawless stages are people who still carry weight in silence. Or maybe, just maybe, this moment wasn't significant because of what it revealed, but because of what it refused to explain.